Hi and welcome. I'd like to do another video on hobbyparts.com combo deal, which includes a 1300 kV motor. That motor spins at 843 prop. You'll notice that on that motor it has a cooling fin attachment and a stick mount. You can also remove that cooling fin stick mount and you can mount it to a firewall mount with the 8mm hole. You'll notice that I've also included a prop saver on this. What I did is I basically took my Dremel tool, got a prop saver, cut the shaft off of the motor, and use that prop saver to protect the shaft. It's got a rather long shaft on it, which is great if you want to mount that inside a cowl. In my case, I'm a cheapskate, so I like to use a Dollar Tree foam board and make a bunch of planes out of that. One of the key features to this kit is that everything comes in one package. What you get is you get the motor, you get the servos, and you get an 18 amp electronic speed controller. On this particular plane, what I've done is I've added a fourth servo underneath the plane. Once again, that servo is available. These are 9-gram servos. They work extremely well. Pretty good centering on them. As you can see, what I do is I use hot glue to attach them to the aircraft itself, which makes for easy removal. You'll notice if you look real closely, you'll see some blue inside there. I wrap them with painter's tape so that when I want to remove those servos, all I have to do is pop the servo out of the form and then take the painter's tape off, and the glue comes off with the painter's tape. So it makes for a real nice clean removal and reinstallation. The hardware that I use is Park Zone hardware. I buy that from my local hobby shop, and this particular setup came with 4 rods for about $3, and it's got carbon fiber reinforcement tubes on it. What I'd like to do though real quickly is kind of show you how this is set up. As you can see, I've used dual aileron servos. This adds the ability to use flaps. This particular plane I found on RC Groups. It's a 30-inch wingspan. It's basically a hovering machine. I believe if you look underneath their RC Groups, you'll find this as listed as a hovering machine. It's made out of all Dollar Tree foam. The foam is $1 a sheet, obviously. It has a paper coating on it. I've left the paper on the wings. I do that for additional strength. It allows me to use one less carbon fiber spar in there. I've taken the foam off of the tail, and what that does is that allows to loosen up the weight, and by doing so I have to use, once again, something cheap, bamboo shish kebab skewers. Now to the underside of the plane. You'll see that I added the fourth servo. That servo goes to the elevator, once again using the Park Zone carbon reinforced push rods. Come from my local hobby shop. You can get them online. Use the hot glue gun to put the servo into its location. You'll notice that inside the fuse, I've cut the fuse open. What this did is allowed me to install, in my case, the Spectrum 2.4 gigahertz receiver. This is using the auxiliary channel for the second aileron and the flaps. On the other side, I've cut an additional hole, and in that hole what I've done is I've installed the 18 amp electronic speed controller. I used some double-sided tape, stuck it to the inside of the fuse. Now this fuse is hollow, so the front of this fuse, let me see if I can get a good shot for it, a hole in it. So you can see that the wires from the motor are going through it, but the fuse is actually hollow from front to back. So this allows a great airflow over the electronic speed controller as well. For the motor mount, what I've done is I've gone to Walmart, and in their craft section they have a bag of wooden square pieces. This particular piece is a little bit too large, so basically all that I do is I take my Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel, and I basically just grind down the shaft until it fits for the proper size of the stick mount, and then I use epoxy and hot glue to stick the motor mount to the top of the plane. You'll notice that on the front of the plane there is a piece of carbon fiber that runs almost the entire length of the leading edge. That's just to add a little bit of rigidity. I did put the battery connector through a small hole to the top of the plane. I do this because I could quickly reposition the battery from forward, backwards for my center of gravity, and left of right to counteract the directional torque of the motor. What I'm using for a battery is the blue LiPo, once again from hobbyparts.com. This one happens to be a 20C 800 milliamp LiPo battery. This battery should give me about 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes of heavy duty hovering and hardcore flight. So these are awesome batteries. If I went to my local hobby shop, this battery is going to cost me, I believe, last time I looked, it was about $40. So I can get this one for $9. Once again, being the cheapskate that I am, 4 batteries for the price of one from hobbyparts.com. And obviously for me, flight time is extremely important, and so this is what I tend to go with, is I try to find a good quality, less expensive brand, and so far the blue LiPos have been awesome. I've got a 2200 milliamp for my Blade 400 helicopter, and it actually provides me about an additional 3 minutes of flight time on that. I've seen no measurable difference in performance of that particular helicopter either. Now what you'll see on this battery is I've actually put a piece of Velcro. I'm doing this by hand, so forgive me if it's a little jittery. I put a piece of Velcro onto the top of the wing. It's long enough that I can move the battery from the backward position to the forward position on the wing, or turn it sideways to adjust my center of gravity. If I wanted a little more stability, I can move it forward. If I want a little more tail heavy for hovering, I can move it to the back. I'd also like to show you one other plane that I did. If you've seen my other video, it was a soccer ball design. It was a disc. The vertical stabilizer was shaped like a Nike tennis shoe. That was done for my girls' soccer team. I also created, since my last video, a small little biplane. I found this also on one of the RC groups. It was a free plan. It had a 20-inch wingspan. I used the same combo motor servoed from Hobby Parts. This one, I didn't like the way it flew very well. It was extremely squirrely. I think I probably need to go to about a 24-inch wingspan on it. It was actually pretty light for the motor. That plane with servos, motors, smaller battery, weighed in around the 9-ounce weight range, which was pretty light for that strong of a motor. This bigger plane here comes in at about 13 ounces right now, maybe a little bit more. I haven't weighed it with the battery, but it should do pretty well. In just a second here, I'm going to move the camera onto the tripod, and we're going to just attach that battery. We're going to fire this up, and I'm going to hold on to one edge of the wing and see if it'll pull itself into the air. What I've done is I've taken the battery, pushed it onto the Velcro. Once I get the plane set up the way that I want the plane set up, what I'll do is I will put a Velcro strap over the top so that when I do wreck it, which I always do, I will not lose my battery, and obviously LiPo safety is extremely important. So what I've done is I've already turned on my radio. I'm going to go ahead and plug up this motor, plug up the electronic speed controller in the battery, make sure your polarities are correct obviously, Dean's connectors, JST connectors, EC3 connectors, whatever you choose to use. Here comes the beeps. That's first for power. The next 4 beeps basically are going to tell you the mode of the electronic speed controller. Dynam has the PDF file on how to program this speed controller if you need to change soft starts, hard starts, voltage cutoffs, etc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly check my control surfaces. So we'll see here that I've got left and right rudder, elevator, and ailerons. We're also going to go ahead and check it. Flaps. I want you to notice something very exciting to me. I believe these servos run about $8, maybe even less than that. I honestly didn't look them up before I started this video. Take a look at the speed of these videos. These servos have extreme speed for such an inexpensive servo. They also center very well. If you look at where these parts come back after they've done their cycle, they come back to the same spot every time. So once again, let's go ahead and give this a little whirl. You're going to have to forgive me. Probably going to scare the crap out of my dog right here. I'm going to go ahead and hold this by one wing. All we're going to do is we're going to fire this little thing up. I'm only going to hold on the edge of the wing here as support. Once I get this motor going, I'm going to kind of see if this has enough power to pull this plane up in the air. Here we go. Alright, watch my hand, I'm going to let her go.